Before I get started, I just wanted to make a quick comment about the GMTSS stuff that went down. Look, I've been a meeting coordinator for 20 some odd years. I'm the regional director, as many of you know, in the Northeast. I'm really, really excited about what went on there. And I take my hat off and applaud Jim Winkler, JR, Lauren for sitting down and putting the microscope to the NMTSS, now GMTSS, and looking at policies, procedures, systems we put in place over the years to curb some of the chaos in that system, and totally going back to the drawing board and turning back the clock and freeing the system up so that we can really use it for a new wave of growth. And I think it's really, really exciting. So congratulations. He's not in the room right now. He's backstage. But congratulations to Jim for taking that step. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the Global Unification, but I got a question for you before I do. Just want to make sure that all of you guys understand the business plan. How many business development centers do the new unfranchised owners get that you sponsor into the business? How many do they get? Who says 3? How many say 3? 3. I heard a couple of 4s. The answer is at least 4. At least 4, and in some areas of the world, they get as many as 5. Every unfranchised owner who you take on board as a partner in this company gets at least 4 business development centers. They get their original 1, 2, and 3, which are ready and set to go day 1. And then they all get a 4th, called an International Reentry Business Development Center, that just needs a little manual switch to flip it on, so you could expand the geographic region where you are allowed to sponsor unfranchised owners. So let's go through it. You have all these different regions of the world. We've broke them up into the Americas, Europe, and Asia Pacific. Now, we unified all the regions. We unified all the regions, meaning you live in the United States, you can sponsor into Canada, you can sponsor in Mexico, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, wherever, right? You live in Asia Pacific, you can sponsor throughout that region. That was the first step in the unification process. And then we unified regions together. The first step was to unify the Americas with Europe, meaning that anyone who lived in America could now sponsor freely in Europe with no major hoops to jump through. And everybody you sponsor in Europe not only builds you new income on your International Reentry Center, but it also counts for you and all the unfranchised owners in your home group right here at home. The next step was we recently unified the Asia-Pacific region with Europe. So those two are unified, and you can sponsor both ways and have all the volume count for you in your home country. Now, the folks in the European region, they get the benefit of both worlds. They get 5 business development centers when they register their business. They get the original 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then they get 2 reentries that they just have to manually flip on whenever they're ready, for the purpose of them expanding their geographic limits to the US and all of the Americas, as well as all of Asia Pacific. We haven't yet gotten to the step where we unify the Americas with Asia, but that's coming at some point in the near future. So rolling through this real quick, just to make sure we understand it, everybody gets the 1, 2, and 3, and then everyone in the Americas and Asia Pacific gets a 4th business development center. It's called an IRC for short, International Reentry, and we label it as 301. And you can place that anywhere into your existing organization, just like you would any reentry that you place. So if you earn the right to enter as a 004, you would find an open spot and link it up. Same process here. The folks who live in the United Kingdom get 2 international reentries, 1 to use to expand to the Americas and 1 to use to expand to Asia Pacific. And the process of placing them is real simple in your back office. You go in and go into My Account and go to International and follow the steps, and it's all pretty simple. So here's what it looks like before you place your international reentry. And as soon as you place that International Reentry Center, this is what's the amazing thing about the new Global Unification process. More banks open associated with your 1, 2, and 3. They're called UGCs, or Unified Global Banks. I'm going to explain how they work in a minute. So the folks in Europe who place their IRC to expand to the Americas now have a BV bank on the left and right, an IBV bank on the left and right, and they also have a Unified Global Bank that will accrue BV from the Americas on the left and right. And then if they place their IRC to expand to Asia, they get another set of banks called Unified Global Banks for the purpose of accruing BV from the Asia Pacific region. So, real quick, very simple, anyone in this room can go on to their back office right now and place their International Reentry Center to expand. If you live in the Americas, to Europe. If you live in Asia Pacific region, you can place it to expand into Europe. And underneath it, you can start sponsoring in unfranchised owners from that new region. Now here we have 2 new unfranchised owners that came in under your international reentry. Let's say you're an American and you placed it to expand to Europe, and you sponsored someone who sponsored someone. They each produced 300 BV. That's 600 BV that flows up just like BV created in your home country. It counts for that international reentry, but when it hits that international reentry, it converts to your home country volume and continues to flow up and pay everyone on your team at home, including you and your 1, 2, and 3. And it counts towards earning your commissions at home. So in this case, we had 5,000 plus on the left this week. We had 3,300 on the right. Your new partners in the European region created 600 BV this week. It flowed up. It counted for you in your home banks as home country volume, just as it would count for the person you sponsored and who lives next door to you. Brought your accrued total up to over 3,600 and kicked out a new check for you right here at home. The way you earn on your IRC is the way you earn on any reentry. If you place any business development center for that matter, you personally sponsor one unfranchised owner on the left and right who are qualified and active in the business, and as the volume accrues to your IRC, you would earn new commissions on your IRC. Once you complete the pay cycle one time on your international reentry, you get the right to reenter again in that new region. And if that one accrues through the cycle, you get another and another, just like a reentry. So there's really no difference here between the regular reentries and these international reentries on that regard. But again, it's the UGC that I think makes the critical difference here. As soon as you place your reentry, those banks open attached to your 1, 2, and 3. I will tell you that I placed my international reentry for the United Kingdom, for Europe, 3+ years ago. It opened my UGC banks. I have earned thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in commissions from volume created in Europe. I have never, to this day, personally sponsored one qualified distributor in Europe on my left and right of my 001. You don't have to, in a sense, activate those UGC banks by personally sponsoring left and right. Any international volume created in that new region will accrue in those banks and pay you commissions. And that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. There is so much to this and so little time to explain it. The real question I have for a lot of people in this room is, what is holding you back? What doubts do you have at this point? We took a certain geographic area you're allowed to build in and removed those barriers and allowed you to build in an entirely new region of the world. People in Europe are suffering under a depressed economy just the same way you are here, only it's worse over there. They trade hours for dollars. They need a better way. They all shop online. It's a whole new world of opportunity there. If you are here's a European distributor who placed their international reentry to build in the Americas on their right. They placed their international reentry to build in Asia on their left. Why? I don't know. Maybe the distributors on the left side had contacts in Asia. The ones on the right side had contacts in Europe. Whatever their strategy was. Again, their UGC banks open for both the Americas and the European region. I went too far there. Brings their income potential up on their 1, 2, and 3 when they're fully built to over $300,000 a year in income. $300,000 a year in income. When I started, the most you could earn would be $109,000 per year per business development. So now we have, they're building left and right in the new region. Volumes coming up from the UK on one side. They're not earning on the IRC because they didn't personally sponsor one qualified distributor left and right, but at least the volume's counting for them at home. They're building in the Asia-Pacific region, same scenario. They're not getting paid yet on their IRC in Asia-Pacific because they didn't activate it yet. But the volume's accruing up to their top center there. Now, when the new region's volume hits your 1, 2, and 3 up top, it counts for you in home country volume if you need it. If you're already at 5,000 BV on the left and right and you don't need any more volume, it spills over then into those UGC banks and starts to accrue towards earning checks. So here we have an unfranchised owner who's got 1,200 BV from the Asia-Pacific region on the left, 1,200 BV from the European region on the right, and they don't earn a check for that European volume, but it helped them finish off their home country volume this week. They were at 4,648. So they did earn a 600 BV check at home. Why didn't they get paid on the new region volume? Because they have 1,200 Asia on the left, but no Asia volume on the right. 1,200 European volume on the right, but no Asia volume on the left, no European volume on the left. So now what they did was this distributor started talking to all the other unfranchised owners on their team. Who else wants to build in the Asia-Pacific region? Who else has contacts there? Who else has relationships there? Who else knows someone who moved there, whose job transferred them there, who's in a military base there, who just wants to travel there? And they found another unfranchised owner on their right side who placed their IRC to build in Asia-Pacific. Now, as Asia-Pacific volume flows up both sides and spills into that UGC, now, this is where the UGC commissions start to roll. I don't know if you're getting this. We're going through it very quickly. But the bottom line is, there is a reentry in your back office right now. What each and every person in this room should do is, I understand there's a lot. You're going home. We got a lot to talk about when we get home, don't we? I mean, local, the local, what do we call it? Shop local program, web center, business networking events, APNs, new products. There's a lot for us to talk about, but you should schedule a calling over the next period of time with your team to talk about who wants to expand and blow our business out internationally. Who's got an interest in traveling to Europe at some point in time and writing it off our taxes? Who wants to get together and work with us? You can place your IRCs in a whole cluster, in a line, work together, brainstorm, use Facebook, use social media, and start to build. The craziness comes, I'm going to click together a couple of slides here. Now, I'm not going to explain this slide here because I have 1 minute and 14 seconds left. But here's the deal. What we're starting to see now is, I'll give you an example of a fellow who's sitting in the room over here somewhere, Len Allen. We have some folks in the US who brainstormed together, decided to expand to Europe. They found a few folks in Europe. How? By asking questions, who do you know, using social media, and lo and behold, they ended up sponsoring a couple of people in Europe. Those people led to more people, who led to people, who led to people, who led to people, who led to Len Allen, who lives in Kent, south of London. Len Allen now has grown very rapidly to master coordinator in the European region. And all of the volume he's creating is rolling up and counting for all the people here on that team in the US as their own home country volume. It's also counting for all the people on their team who have no interest in expanding to the UK. They just get the volume anyway. But now what's happened is Len has placed his IRC to build in the US. So as Len is building in the US, using his US upline, or are we calling it upstream now, Yardley, is that it? His upstream folks in the US as the boots on the ground that he can leverage to talk face-to-face with his prospects in the US. So we call this zippering effect. So this is what we're starting to see happen now. It's taken a little while to kick in, but people are starting to intermingle in different regions. You're sponsoring in this new region. They're all placing their IRCs back in this region. And what it causes is, it just causes this compounding effect that are starting to see incomes and commissions escalate quicker and quicker and quicker. I'm out of time. Here's my deal. Since we have a really small group in here, I think I'm comfortable doing this. My email address is, I'm going to shoot myself for this later, philg, it's pretty easy to remember, philg@shop.com. If you have an interest in expanding internationally through the IRC program and you just don't understand it, and the people on your, go to your upstream folks first. A lot of them know this stuff, but if they don't know it and they can't help you and you're confused, should I place my IRC? Where should I place my IRC? How do I build in the new region? Email me and I will do whatever I can do to help you out to get the ball rolling, okay? Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you later.